What's crack lacking? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So, real quick, before we dive into receivers, we're being reviewed for monetization, so we've come a long way. Good job. But we are talking receivers. It is a rough matchup this week. Like, it's rough for buys. I mean, we've lost so much with the Falcons, Bengals, Saints, and Rams. It's like, oh man, okay, let's scrape the bottom of the barrel and see what we can get. Well, we're going to do just that, but before that, go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. Go ahead, be active in the comments, and become a bro and subscribe. It's much appreciated, much obliged. Be sure you share the video because Sharon is Karen, and my stepmother's name is Sharon, as is her sister is Karen. The fun fact, just in case you were wondering. Thursday night, man. Thursday night, we got San Fran versus Arizona. Honestly, with San Francisco, I think the only worthwhile start you have here is Emmanuel Sanders. The Cardinals are 16th against opposing running back or opposing receivers. They actually give up all their points to the tight end, so George Kittle's gonna have himself a day. But I think Emmanuel Sanders, he proved he's a worthwhile start. As far as Debo, man, he scored on a gimmick play. It was a run-in play, so and then actually Goodwin's likely to be the number 2. He's likely to return. He left the team last week for personal issues, and it looks like he's got all that sorted out. But yeah, he should be the number 2. So Debo Samuel might not even get much looks. And then same goes for Dante Pettis, which is quite unfortunate, man. Quite unfortunate. Everyone was so high on you, Dante. As for Arizona, only worthwhile start here, I think it's Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk, I know it's a tough matchup. San Fran, they're 3rd against opposing running backs, but I think Kirk is a good, maybe a low flex start. He's seen 8+ targets in at least 4 of his 5 games he's played this year. Fitzgerald, his targets have just been getting fewer and fewer week in and week out. So Christian Kirk seems like the safer bet here. And let's travel all the way to our UK friends in London. We got Houston versus Jacksonville. Hopkins, you got to start Hopkins. I mean, you spent a first-round pick on DeAndre Hopkins. You're starting Hopkins. Jaguars are 13th against opposing receivers. So, but Will Fuller's doubtful. He's not playing. He's not playing. Stills, though, he's so hit or miss. So it's like it's kind of hard to trust Kenny Stills. Just understand that's what he's gonna be for you. It's gonna be either climaxes or just lows. And then Kiki QT, you could probably drop him. He's kind of irrelevant in the offense, unfortunately. As for Jacksonville, it looks like Westbrook will be healthy for this, which is great because Houston's terrible in the secondary. They're 32nd against opposing receivers. And no JJ Watt, which means no pressure, which means Uncle Rico will have all the time in the world. I think both Shark and Conley are good plays here. I mean, you could be in this case where only maybe one really scores well and the other doesn't, but I think they're both good looks, as well as Westbrook, because Westbrook was his most targeted guy when healthy. So yeah, Jets, Dolphins. Oh man, honestly, for the Jets, I think all these guys are very low end starts, because you just don't know who to trust there. Robbie Anderson, Thomas, Crowder, like they're all very, like, their flex starts, if you really need it. But they have a really good matchup. So honestly, if I were you, I'd look elsewhere, but if you have to, I'd go for it. But yeah, let's talk about the Dolphins. Talking about if you have to, Parker's not a bad start. DeVante Parker's played very, very well. He has 18 targets in the last 2 games. He has that touchdown upside. And the Jets are 25th against opposing receivers. And honestly, it's really just been their safeties and their slot that's been able to cover. You won't see DeVante Parker in the lineup in the slot. So he's going to be burning whoever is there on the outside. But Preston Williams, I don't know, man. I'd rather, if I had to choose between the two, I would take DeVante Parker. And then Hearns and Wilson, they both got touchdowns last week, but that's about it. That's about all they did. Washington versus Buffalo. Man, it's tough to start anyone if you have any of these Redskins players. Really, I mean, Buffalo, they're 5th against opposing receivers. I mean, honestly, McLaurin would be the only guy I'd really trust, and as a very low-end start. So let's talk about Buffalo, which is actually a little nicer. I mean, I think both Brown and Beasley are both worth shots. Even if it's a run-heavy script, I think they're both worth shots because Jets, or excuse me, the Redskins are 9th against opposing receivers, so they're both worth a shot. As for Duke Williams, I don't think he's startable. It is what it is. Minnesota versus Kansas City. Let's talk about if Thielen is healthy, he's a start. You should start him. And real weird, Kansas City, they're 7th against opposing receivers. I think that's more of a reflection on how bad they are against the run, but those corners have played fairly well. But Thielen, I think you have to play, and then Diggs, honestly, he's on this hot streak. I think he's a must start. As for Kansas City, the only guy I'd really want to start here is Tyreek Hill, because I mean, dude, they're okay. That's not true. Hill is a good start. He's probably going to be lined up against Xavier Rhodes, who's been pretty bad this year. Minnesota, they're 20th against opposing receivers, which means, oh, maybe there should be room for someone else, right? Well, who is that? Is it going to be Sammy Watkins, who's been terrible since week 1, or Mecole Hardman, who sees like 2 receptions a game, but they're typically for huge gain? I would weigh Sammy Watkins. I think he's a safer option. So, I don't know. Good. You do you, boo. You do you. Chicago versus Philly. Man, ooh, it's hard not to start. Like, I know I talked about how bad Mitch Trubisky's been, but that hasn't really done anything to Allen Robinson's his fantasy scoring. He's been a fine fantasy player this year. And then Taylor Gabriel's back, and he's shown his ups and downs. I mean, Philly, they're 31st against opposing receivers, so you almost want to give Gabriel a shot here. But I think someone I'd start in place is Anthony Miller, who's seen an uptick in targets, in playing time overall. And then who is the slot there at Philly? Because that's where Anthony Miller is going to be lining up. I don't know who they have playing slot currently, but since they got rid of Orlando Scandrick, man, I would honestly, Anthony Miller is not a bad guy to take a shot on. As for Philly, man, I don't think Alshon Jeffrey's a good start here. I mean, Chicago, they're 6th against opposing receivers. I don't think it's a good start, but if healthy, I think Deshaun Jackson is a good start. He's the type of guy that could get behind that secondary, and he could kill you with one play. So if he's healthy this week, like fully healthy, I don't want him coming in like, oh, he didn't practice on Tuesday or Wednesday, but he should be ready by Sunday. I want a full week of practice. I want to see him get as much time as possible on the field. So I would keep up to date with that stuff. Indianapolis versus Pittsburgh. Only guy I trust for Indianapolis is T.Y. Hilton. Pittsburgh's 18th against opposing receivers, but this defense has gotten better and better and better as the year has gone on. So I don't really trust Pascal, Campbell, or Rodgers. Give me only Hilton. As for Pittsburgh, the Colts are 14th against opposing receivers. But it's hard to sit Juju or Deontay Johnson here. I think they're both very viable. They're both doing a lot in this offense right now, and they're both seeing significant amount of targets game in and game out, especially with Rudolph under center. So I think they're both like wide receiver 2 flex options. Tennessee versus Carolina. Man, Tennessee, man, I like nobody. I like no one. Not a single soul. It's a good matchup. Carolina, they're 21st against opposing receivers, but Tennessee spreads the ball out way too much. And the only thing that really saved A.J. Brown and Sharp's production last week, they both got touchdowns. Like I said, the ball spread around too much. It's really the tight end that is the most consistent. They get the most consistent volume when it's Tannehill behind center. So just keep that in mind. I'd be hesitant with Tennessee receivers, but man, this is a tough one because we got DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. Who will go off in this matchup? Because I guarantee you someone will. Because I mean, just look at Tennessee; they're 10th against opposing receivers. But look at what Mike Evans did to him last week. Mike Evans been, man, that guy's been on a roller coaster. Now, if looking at this, I would say DJ Moore has the bigger upside. Definitely he has the Mike Evans-esque upside in this game over Samuel. But honestly, you're probably with this week, man, we're losing so many different receivers because of the bye. You might be in a position to have to start both. So Good luck. Detroit versus Oakland. Galladay and Jones, dude. Marvin Jones. They're both. You have to start them. You know, one's gonna hit, one's not. Probably. That's likely the story. Oakland, they're 27th against opposing receivers, so you have to start both of them in this case. And then Danny Amendola has been on kind of a hot streak the last couple of games, but he might be worth a shot because the slot there in Oakland's pretty weak. They've given up points to it, and especially with the running back situation so murky there in Detroit. Actually, it's crystal clear. It's just bad right now. I see them using more 3 wide receiver sets. You could also say Marvin Hall. What? But nah, he's too inconsistent. I don't think he's worth a shot. I'd take Amendola over Marvin Hall. Oakland, though, man, Tyrell Williams. I know, first half, he looked terrible. Second half, man went off. He is probably, outside of Darren Waller, the most trusted weapon of Derek Carr. And I like Derek Carr in this matchup. Detroit, they're 24th against opposing receivers, so it all points in the right direction. As far as Renfro, I don't know. I can't trust him. I want to see more volume in that offense, and I don't think he's going to get it. And Tampa Bay versus Seattle. If you have both Evans and Godwin, you have to start both those guys. That's just the case. It's kind of what I say about Galladay and Jones. You have to, you know, one's going to hit, so you have to start both of them. The same thing is true here. As far as Seattle, this is a great matchup. Last week I said I liked Metcalf's upside because they faced a very, how would I say this? Bad defense. And they both had solid days, and this is the same, dude. Tampa Bay, they're 29th against opposing receivers. It's a great matchup for both Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Cleveland versus Denver. Let's talk about Denver first. Sutton, he should be okay. Cleveland, they're 17th against opposing receivers, so he should be all right. As far as Deshaun Hamilton, man, what the heck, dude? He's like a non-factor in the offense. He actually lost snaps to Fred Brown. And you may be like, who? And my point exactly. I don't know who he pissed off or what he said, but they're giving him the Joe Flacco and Emmanuel Sanders treatment, and that sucks. So Sutton's the only guy you can trust. As far as Cleveland, I wouldn't start anybody. I know it's tough. It's OBJ, man, but dude, Denver, they're first against opposing receivers. You got Chris Harris, probably guarding OBJ a majority of the time, but even then, man, I just don't like the outcome here. And then with Chris Harris, he plays a lot in the slot as well, so that really limits what Jarvis Landry can do. So I honestly, I would just sit both these guys. If you have to, then yeah, then start OBJ. He's got the name value, but he hasn't been much this season. And then Green Bay versus the Chargers. I hope, because I have DeVante Adams in so many leagues, that he plays. They say he should be active. I hope he is, because no one else on that Packers team interests me. No one. No Lazard, no MVS, no Geronimo, no Kenro or whatever, dude, or Kumaro. Yeah, nothing. But as for the Chargers, again, this is me. I only have faith in one person here. It's Keenan Allen. He's a safe option. He's seen 10+ targets in 5 times this season, and personally, I just don't trust Mike Williams. He's the 4th fiddle in this offense. You might be like, 4th fiddle, man. Yes, guys like Hunter Henry, Keenan Allen, and Austin Eckler have seen much more like usage as a pass catcher than Mike Williams. I know Mike Williams tends to be okay, but I think he's very limited. He's very touchdown dependent for him to be relevant, I should say. And Sunday night game, we got the Patriots versus the Ravens, and I mean, Julian Edelman's untouchable. He is. He's a safe play every week. Baltimore, they're 23rd against opposing receivers. Stacks up. As for Philip Dorsett and Mohamed Sanu, it's really pick your poison. They both can be viable, but man, I mean, how much are they really going to do? Philip Dorsett might have the bigger ceiling here. He is the bigger play threat. As far as Baltimore, nobody. No one. Patriots are 20th against opposing receivers. Baltimore likes to run the ball. I mean, Hollywood Brown might be back, but it looks like he's not practicing. It looks like he's still hurt. So even then, I'm I'm not fascinated by any of the receivers in this matchup. And the Monday night game, Dallas versus the Giants. This is a very intriguing matchup here. Let's start with the Giants. Golden Tate, he's a safe option in a tough matchup. Cowboys are 4th against opposing receivers. As far as Darius Slayton, I don't know. He might lose some volume if Sterling Shepard is he's certainly going to lose volume if Shepard is able to play. So I don't know, man. I'd keep up with that. It's a very tough matchup, and it's kind of up to you. I wouldn't do it. Dallas, you have to. Okay. The Giants are 30th against opposing receivers. That secondary has been torched, mainly the corners, and I love Cooper Kupp. I do love Cooper Kupp, but I love Amari Cooper in this matchup. Michael Gallup, man, I know he's been a little cold, but this might be the right game to get him back on. But this is what it is. Grant Haley has played terrible in the slot for the Giants. My only question is who's playing slot this week, because Randall Cobb's back healthy. Is it going to be Tavon Austin or is it going to be Randall Cobb? I would kind of monitor that to see who they're going to have to play, but I think honestly whoever plays in the slot this week will have a sick one. But yeah, that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. It's much appreciated, much obliged, and be sure to like and subscribe. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.